baby yum yummers, thank you so much for joining us again. The whole pregnancy journey can be so exciting but a little bit stressful as well. And today we're going to unpack the preparation, the part where you get yourself ready, not just physically but emotionally and on all levels. And with me, I've got Carly Seager to join me and talk about all the small things, but very important things that we might not be aware of. So Carly, thank you so much for being with us today.
Thank you for having me, Renate.
Yeah, we're really thankful for your time and to learn from you. So tell us a little bit more about yourself.
Yeah, so my name is Carly and I'm a private practicing dietitian here in Johannesburg, close to the Baby Yum Yum studio. I'm in Ilova. I've been in practice for over 10 years now, and I really am passionate about working in all things women's health, including fertility and pregnancy and postpartum nutrition too.
And it's such an important role that you play, because we can often just put so much focus on all the other fluffy things that we sometimes forget about our physical well-being. And today we're going to touch on different things. So let's start with the physical well-being side. Yes. So what are the most important physical health checks or screenings that women should consider before trying to conceive?
So I think just generally it's so important to think about your health pre-conception and before starting to actually actively try to fall pregnant, for a couple of reasons. And the first is because egg quality doesn't happen overnight and egg development doesn't occur overnight. We need to be thinking about this process taking 3 to 4 months.
Okay.
So that's really important. And then number two, when pregnancy does occur, the first trimester can be tough. Yes. So we want to make sure that we've got good habits in place. We want to make sure that our health is started off to a solid foundation and established on a good foundation. Yes. So that we can transition into pregnancy in a healthy way. So physical checks that would generally be done, I think it's important to see your GP or your gynecologist for antenatal blood tests, which would look at things like thyroid function and your blood group and your partner's blood group, and looking at rubella immunity as well. And then from a nutrition perspective, this is where we can really step in and look at certain nutrient stores, screen for nutrient deficiencies. So certain tests like an iron profile, for example, or vitamin D, or your blood sugar, your HbA1c, so your 3-month average blood sugar reading. We can check for this before conception so that we can eliminate and treat any potential nutrient deficiencies before starting to even try.
That's incredible, because you mentioned your partner's blood type, which is something I don't necessarily think we consider all the time. Yeah.
Yes. The reason why I say is I am actually pregnant, and my partner and I am negative rhesus, he's positive rhesus, so there can be interactions and potential complications for future pregnancies, and for the baby's blood type and my blood type being different. So it's really important to just be aware of that.
Wow, that's incredible. And you also mentioned regular, like if you say 3 months, doesn't mean you need to go like every month and then see if there's a trend or something.
Your blood type won't change.
No, not the blood type, the other things that you mentioned that you check for before.
Yes, it depends on the level. So it depends on if there was a deficiency in the first place, how severe that deficiency was, and then your dietitian or healthcare provider will guide you in terms of when we need to retest, what dosage of supplementation to correct that might be necessary. Yes. And then of course also other physical checks. So looking at things like pap smear, which a gynae or a GP would do, is important, a pelvic exam, and then weight and height, and looking at BMI and maybe body composition, body fat, visceral fat. Those are markers that we can look at too, and important to just make sure that the baseline is there.
That's
preconception.
So incredible. And just to I also think it's that peace of mind that you are prepared now for, or you are more prepared from a physical point of view. So how does maintaining a healthy weight blood pressure and blood sugar impact fertility and pregnancy outcomes?
So important. So we know that being overweight or underweight, so having a BMI above 25 or a BMI below 18.5, can impact cycle regularity. We know it can impact your menstrual cycle and thus your ovulation. Really, really an important factor to look at. We know if you're overweight, just a modest 5 to 10% weight loss can really improve fertility outcomes. But this does take time, so it needs to be addressed a couple of months before starting to try and fall pregnant.
And I guess that's also when, like you mentioned earlier, when you start getting those good habits in place and in another rhythm where you're more conscious about, what you do and from a health point of view. What role does exercise play in preparing the body for pregnancy? And are there any types of movements that's more beneficial?
I think this is a nuanced question depending on what the woman's baseline of fitness is, but it's incredibly important. So the general recommendations are to aim for about 150 minutes of exercise per week, which is about 30 minutes 5 times a week. If you are already in a good exercise routine, continue with that. We just want to be mindful of any contact sports, anything dangerous, anything too high impact you'd rather avoid. If you're new to exercise, then starting gradually and building up. So brisk walking is great, yoga is great, swimming is amazing as well. So lower impact, safer forms of exercise are great places to start. But it's so important because exercise is involved in stress management and stress regulation, which plays a role in the HPA axis regulation, and that's just looking at how the brain and the ovaries and the adrenals communicate. So it can play a big role in ovulation and supporting a healthy menstrual cycle, and also in bringing blood flow to the reproductive organs and increasing circulation to the ovaries and to the uterus, and then strengthening pelvic floor muscles, right, which is super important to support a healthy pregnancy and birth.
Wow, it's so incredible the connection you just mentioned, that there's communication happening. And like we know about, the good feelings that you get and all the stress relief and the endorphins and so forth when you exercise, but the communication part is new to me, so thank you for highlighting that, that internally there's a lot going on.
Yes, your body and your brain are so connected, and stress management plays a really critical role in supporting fertility.
And I'm sure we're going to touch more on stress management later, because there's so many other factors that can make you feel insecure or stressed. So this is definitely so important then. And how can partners also prepare physically to support conception and healthy pregnancy?
Very important. So I think fertility is a team effort and it's a team approach, both in the family and in a medical community setting. But we need to make sure that the woman doesn't feel alone or isolated or too pressurized in making all of these changes and lifestyle adaptations. So remember, we need both healthy eggs and healthy sperm to create an embryo. It's not just egg quality that we're looking at, and we know that diet and lifestyle play a massive role in male sperm quality, both in the way that the sperm moves, the sperm count, the sperm health overall. So partners should also really look at limiting alcohol, stopping smoking, which can have a massive impact on sperm quality, increasing antioxidants in their diet, so lots of fruit and veggies and sources of zinc and selenium to support the sperm quality, avoiding hot baths or jacuzzis or saunas, which can play a role as well. And then also focusing on getting good quality sleep and stress management, because that's going to impact the quality of the sperm health. And we know that male factor infertility does play a big role in couples battling to conceive. It's often a little bit of a taboo subject. Men don't want to look at it. Men don't necessarily want to test for it, but it's something that needs to be spoken about more and screened for earlier. Just help the woman not feel like it's all on her and the pressure's all on her.
Yeah, and that's good news, because you actually do sometimes feel like you are the one that carries all the weight. And what I love about what you just explained is the fact that it's a team. Absolutely. And if both will go on to a more healthy diet, and just the routine, the exercise, everything. And then it's also good for the relationship, right?
Totally.
Because you then strengthen it before
having a baby, and get into partnership and
Yes.
teamwork and collaboration which is so necessary for when the baby does arrive.
Totally.
And I think also important, just on the note of fertility, diet and lifestyle and supplementation and exercise do play a big role in overall health and supporting fertility. However, there are some medical or genetic conditions that do exist that are not impacted by diet, lifestyle, and what we can control. So it's important to know that seek medical advice, seek support from a fertility specialist. If you are above the age of 35 and you've been trying for 6 months, that's a good time to seek support. And if you're below 35 and you've been trying for longer than 12 months or a year without any success, that's a good time to seek support.
Okay, thank you. That's good to know. So Carly, you've mentioned, from a partner's point of view, looking at the alcohol consumption and so forth, but from the mom, preparing your own body's point of view, I mean, that applies as well, right?
Absolutely. So we know smoking is really not beneficial in any way for fertility or for pregnancy outcomes. It does decrease overall fertility, decreases egg quality, and increases the risk of miscarriage and birth defects and fetal growth restriction. So we have to be so mindful of giving the mum time and giving her access to support to stop if she is smoking, and vaping comes into that too, which is common at the moment. And then alcohol, it's really important to try and limit and try and swap for non-alcoholic options and getting into the habit of that, because when pregnancy comes, we need to be avoiding alcohol. Caffeine is another one that we see. So we have lots of caffeine addicts out there who are having 5-6 cups of coffee a day. This is far too much when pregnancy comes about. So use those 3-4 months before conception to work on decreasing your caffeine intake to the recommended 200 milligrams, which is about a cup of filter coffee a day.
So it's not all out the window.
No,
you can still have
moderation.
Your little fix.
Yes, exactly. But going from 6 cups to 1 can be really difficult for some women.
Yeah, and I'm sure sleep as well, right?
So important. So sleep influences your circadian rhythm, which is your sleep-wake cycle, of course. And we know that circadian rhythm regulates hormone production and regulates the hormones involved in menstrual cycle. So again, it comes back to that HPA axis function and health. So having a healthy sleep routine, getting 7 to 9 hours of sleep, going to bed at a similar time, waking up at a similar time, can have a big impact on ovulation and regularity of ovulation. And then interestingly also melatonin, which is the hormone that helps us fall asleep, so it's a sleep hormone, also acts as an antioxidant that can help to prevent oxidative stress and oxidative damage that it can occur to both the egg cell and the sperm cells. So
fascinating.
So interesting.
And sleep while you can, because when you are pregnant, those midnight walks to the bathroom and so forth, that's a new phase. So enjoy it while you can. And I always find it fascinating to see how each part of our bodies is so intricately woven together, and how we can, with easy changes, make a big impact. Don't watch that additional episode of your series that night, but rather invest in your sleep.
Totally.
Or leave social media for a bit and sleep. So
that's such an important point, because that blue light from Netflix or from the phone can really interfere with melatonin production and melatonin secretion. So it tricks the brain into thinking you're awake, it's daytime, no need to fall asleep, and it can really interfere with that sleep quality. So sleep, I think, is foundational, and it does also impact our appetite so hugely. So if weight is a concern, we know that sleep deprivation is going to impact the production of ghrelin, which is our hunger hormone, and leptin, which is the fullness hormone. So it interferes with cravings, it interferes with appetite. Really a good place to start, actually, is sleep quality.
Wow. I didn't know that. So it's absolutely amazing to think that every part of this puzzle really plays such a big role. And what I'm hearing you say, and I'm grateful for the conversation, is that there's so much that you can do for yourself to help your body prepare
and be proactive.
Yeah. And these are not things that you only need to do to fall pregnant. It's actually great habits in general for us in life. So let's talk about nutrition.
Perfect.
And I want to talk about nutrition and supplements. So why is nutrition so critical even before conception?
For the reason I mentioned earlier, in that we need to establish these healthy habits before the first trimester kicks in, where nausea and fatigue can become an issue. And then from a biological perspective, we know that organ development starts happening very early after conception, very soon after conception. So we know that that neural tube starts to close within 21 to 28 days post-conception. Many women won't know that they're pregnant at that point. So we need to make sure that our nutrient stores are adequately filled up before that point, and we are focusing on those nutrient building blocks to support both healthy organ development and mom's overall health too.
So important. And like you say, you won't necessarily know that you are pregnant already.
Exactly.
And the magic is already happening. So which nutrients are most important for women preparing for pregnancy?
I think protein is really important, fiber is really important from a macronutrient perspective, and then when we're looking at the micronutrients, the vitamins and minerals, iron is a big one because your iron needs in pregnancy increase dramatically because we're creating all of these new red blood cells. Our blood volume doubles in pregnancy, and iron plays a big role in supporting mum's energy levels, her mental health, her cognition. So iron is really important. We want to make sure that we're looking for, in terms of supplementation, a gentle form of iron. So there's many different types of iron. Some can cause nasty side effects like constipation or black tarry stools. So we want a form of iron known as iron bisglycinate that can be gentle on the tummy and gentle on the gut and not further contribute to constipation and be well absorbed. So that's a really important one. And then of course, folic acid or folate. Very important. So a lot of people don't know the difference between folic acid, which is the more synthetic form of vitamin B9, and then folate or methylated folate, which is the natural food found form of vitamin B9. And this is the nutrient that's most important for baby's spinal cord development and the closure of that neural tube and preventing neural tube defects like spina bifida. So when we're looking at which one to go for, quite a lot of women and people generally carry a genetic variation called the MTHFR gene variation, which impairs their ability to absorb folic acid and convert it into the methylated form of folate. So if we can be taking in the natural form, folate, in the first place, it can really help support that adequate intake of vitamin B9 or folate.
So how would you know, what your body will do?
So food-based, how would you know about that? Yeah, you would have to do a genetic test to see. So there is a lovely test offered by D-Analysis called Grow Baby, which assesses that gene and several other genes involved in methylation and baby's outcomes and mum's outcomes and fertility outcomes, which can be really helpful to do. But because it can be quite common, up to 49% of women can carry a moderate or high impact variant on that gene, looking at your supplements, looking at your labels to make sure that folate is present, which is better absorbed in most women regardless of this gene variation or not.
Okay, that's great advice. And so it shows us again, you're not alone on this journey. There's so many other options available for you to go and seek help, get that advice, get the insight as to what's happening in your own body.
And make it more personalized to you. Yes. So you can make sure that you are absorbing and utilizing the nutrients adequately.
Yeah, because otherwise you spend your money buying supplements and you're thinking that you are getting all the nutrients that you need, but ultimately you're not.
Yes.
So that is fascinating. How early should women start taking prenatal supplements, and how do they complement a balanced diet?
My advice would be to start ideally 3 months before wanting to fall pregnant. Okay, so 3 months before, because of that egg quality and egg development cycle that I mentioned. However, if push comes to shove, 1 month before is also helpful. Ideally 3 months, definitely 1 month before. And important to remember that supplements don't replace the healthy foundation of a balanced diet. I see supplements as just a top up and being able to fill the gap, and almost like a little insurance policy. So to just help correct any little deficiencies and fill the gaps between where your intake on a certain day might not have been adequate through your diet. They can't replace good nutritional habits though. Eating balanced meals, getting in enough protein, getting in enough vegetables, antioxidants, fruits, water. We've got to make sure that that foundation is there, and supplements are the cherry on top of the cake.
And I think it also plays a role because you don't know when you fall pregnant how your body will react in terms of nausea, morning sickness and so forth, and then you might not be able to have those balanced meals and so forth. So then at least you've got the building blocks in place.
Yeah,
that's
so
amazing.
important.
What practical advice would you give to women who struggle with meal planning or access to nutrients-rich foods?
I think this is a common concern and a common struggle at the moment. Time is always an issue, and accessibility is an issue too. My advice would be to bulk cook. So to batch cook or to bulk cook, and then pre-portion meals and freeze. So things like soups that can be loaded with vegetables and healthy spices and herbs and lentils and chickpeas and legumes, those freeze really well. And then when you need a quick meal, instead of ordering Uber Eats or a takeaway, you can just grab something out of the freezer and reheat it. So batch cooking is really important. And then relying on shelf-stable staples. So again, things like dried peas or beans or lentils or chickpeas or tinned versions of those as well. All of those legumes, which many women don't eat enough of, are incredibly nutrient dense. They're rich in B vitamins, rich in protein, rich in fiber. So those can just be kept in a cupboard. They last for months, and they can be used in so many different ways. The same with tinned fish. So sardines, pilchards, mackerel, really, really nutrient dense, high in omega-3, which is very important for baby's brain and eye development. So relying on those where possible. And then maybe looking at frozen vegetables and not feeling guilty in any way for using frozen vegetables.
That's good,
because remember, they're frozen at the point of harvest. So nutrient retention can really be good in those frozen veggies. So frozen spinach or mixed frozen vegetables, certainly better than not getting in any vegetables or freshness on your plate.
And thank you for mentioning that it is fresh and it's okay to eat, because sometimes there might be a feeling, or someone thinks that no, I'm actually cheating my body here. But like you say, they are frozen at the right time of harvest.
And freezing can help actually retain some nutrients. Amazing. Which is important.
Yeah.
So if we're looking at not eating any vegetables or eating frozen vegetables, 100% go for those frozen veggies.
That's great news, especially if you're in a hurry and or you not just in a hurry, but you forgot to buy the groceries, or sometimes you forget that you've bought something and it goes off in the fridge. So are there any other common myths about supplements or pregnancy superfoods that you'd like to clarify?
I'm sure there's many out there. There's so many different myths, and what's really important to remember is that there isn't a single food or meal or nutrient that can guarantee fertility. We've got to zoom out, and that's always what I tell my patients. Zoom out and look at your day as a whole, look at your week as a whole, look at your month of eating as a whole. We've got to make sure that we're looking at overall dietary habits and patterns as opposed to a single food or a single ingredient in the diet. So we've got to make sure that balanced nutritional approach is there. And also important to remember that herbal supplements that aren't regulated and aren't tested cannot replace these foundational nutrients that we were speaking about. So it's really important to make sure that we've got the folate, the iron, the omega-3, the calcium, the nutrients that have been well studied and tested and proven essential for mums. Some of these other popular herbal supplements that are out there that promise the world might not be, they're not a replacement for these medical grade supplements that we do have access to.
And that makes me think that we should be so extra careful when just watching social media videos and recommendations by people who don't really know what they're talking about, and to not just trust that, but rather seek, professional help. Yeah.
Such a good point, Renette. I was reading a study that said that up to 95% of information on social media is inaccurate in terms of nutrition, health and wellness advice. So we have to be so careful of where we're getting that health and wellness advice from, especially when it comes to pregnancy and potentially growing a little human.
Yeah, definitely, because that little human is our main priority.
Yeah.
So how can partners and families support healthy eating habits during the preparation stage?
So we touched on the partners, and I think that also needs to happen a couple of months prior to starting to or wanting to start to fall pregnant. But families can really help too. So maybe ideas like going for a walk together or exercising together, having that accountability buddy who you can do your exercise with is really helpful, and make it fun and make it part of a group activity. And then if there's smoking in the home, that's also really important to try and remove smoking from the house and from the home environment because of the impact of passive smoking on the mum too. And then everybody can get involved also with healthy food preparation, shopping, groceries, and then cooking and helping the mum beforehand, because when she is pregnant, she's going to need that help.
Yes.
Yeah.
And we can't assume that this is the first baby we're talking about or first pregnancy we're talking about, because there might be like toddlers running around and teenagers in the house. And as a mom of a teenager, I can say that they are always hungry. So it's actually so good to have it as a team and establishing those good habits, because when baby arrives, you're going to definitely need to support each other.
Yeah, absolutely. I suppose it depends on who is at home and who's available to help, but be open to the help as mums. That's really important. And accept the help. And
I'm glad that you mentioned that, Carly, because I think sometimes we just want to be superwomen, and we know we can do it all, but we don't need to do it all. Not on our own, at least. So it's wonderful, and that leads me to the holistic preparation. How do physical, mental and nutritional well-being work together to create the best foundation for pregnancy?
So interconnected. I think we cannot separate the role of the mind and the body and the influence that they have on each other. So we know just from a nutritional perspective, nutrients like your vitamin D and omega-3 and all of your B vitamins, vitamin B12 and folate, magnesium, they play a critical role in helping our bodies produce serotonin and other neurotransmitters which support healthy mood and healthy mental health too. And if we've got that good foundation of healthy mood and our mental health is supported through diet and exercise, we're going to be more resilient, we're going to be more able to stick to these healthy lifestyle changes throughout pregnancy and beyond. This is such a critical opportunity and a window of opportunity to set your baby up for success or your child up for success. This is a time from the day of conception up until baby's second birthday. Nutrition and lifestyle habits in that period can make a huge difference to the baby's health outcomes in adulthood and beyond.
It's incredible, and it's also interconnected, like you say, and the good mood part of it. I think there's so many other factors that make us stress, and the environments that we live in, plus everything else besides social media and so forth, that if you can you build the blocks. You've got access to the building blocks, right? So what small realistic steps can women and couples take today to start preparing?
Good question. I think it's important to remember that we're aiming for progress, not perfection, and that little changes really do add up and can make a big difference. So I think what's important is to just start thinking about planning your meals and preparing your meals and maybe packing your meals if you're working from an office or not working from home, so you're a little bit more organized.
Okay.
Getting into the habit of balancing 3 meals and eating those 3 meals for the day, not skipping meals, is super important.
Okay.
Starting your prenatal vitamin at least 3 months before trying to conceive is really helpful. Starting to calm down on the caffeine and the alcohol, as we mentioned as well. Seeking support in stopping smoking if that is an issue for you too. And then establishing a good sleep habit. And I think it's important to remember that we don't have to do all of this at once. You can maybe start with one of those pieces of advice once a week maybe, or once every 2 weeks. Once you feel like that habit is solidified, add on the next, add on the next, add on the next.
And what I'm hearing you say is that it's not a marathon. It's not a sprint.
It's not a sprint.
It's a marathon, rather long.
Yeah.
You know, you're going to take it step by step and just be on a journey and have fun in between. And, you know, like, it's so exciting to learn about pregnancy, learn about becoming a parent and how the family unit is going to be involved. So that's all these building blocks, step by step, and not putting yourself under so much pressure, right? To get it all right in 1 week and have your schedule and
exactly
the box.
Doesn't have to be so rigorous and so perfect. And I think that ties back to that nervous system regulation, which is so important for overall fertility. If the mum is chronically stressed and chronically wound up and chronically in fight or flight, and her cortisol is through the roof, we do see negative impacts on fertility and conception from that. So it's important to give yourself time, to not rush, and to establish these habits so that they become second nature as opposed to effort and dread.
Yes. And it's good habits in any case to continue in life.
100%.
So Carly, this has been so amazing. I mean, we've learned so much from you. What message of encouragement would you share with those who feel overwhelmed by all the advice out there?
Pleasure, Rene. Thank you for having me again. I think, again, important to remember, it really is about the little steps and progress over perfection. Don't take everything on by yourself as a mum. Seek support from your community, from your partner, from your family, from your friends. Make sure that you are not feeling alone in this, and seek support from trusted medical professionals as opposed to social media or other people's opinions. So book your appointment with your gynae or your GP, book an appointment with a dietitian, get that personalized nutrition and medical support before you actually fall pregnant so that you feel confident going into the process.
So incredible. Thank you, Carly.
Pleasure.
We really appreciate it.
Pleasure.
And isn't it just wonderful to know that you can have access and that you should reach out to someone who's got the expertise and care, because it's a journey. Then you go on this journey together. Besides your family and friends, you've got someone that you know has got your best interest at heart. So baby Yum Yummers, thank you so much for watching. I trust and believe that you've learned as much as I did. And if you are busy preparing for pregnancy, we wish you all the best and may it be an incredibly fulfilling and healthy journey for you. Stay tuned. Remember to go and look at www.babyyumyum.com for all the other incredible articles and resources we have. And stay tuned, because there are more videos like this coming. Take good care. Bye.
Bye.